If you have a Chevrolet Sonic and the driver window isn't working, what fixed mine was taking the switch assembly out. You can take it apart. There's a Phillips head screw on the bottom, and then these side clips on both sides. You can take it apart and clean the contacts, and I'll show you that in just a second. So after you remove the Phillips head from the bottom there, all you have to do is take a flat bladed screwdriver. I have a pick in this case, and you just work both sides, all these little snap clips, and then the child lock window button will tend to stick, but you can just pull it free, and the whole assembly will come off. It's a little hard to do one-handed, but come off in two parts. And the only things, nothing's gonna go shooting any springs or anything. There are two springs that are for the child lock, but I'll show you where those go in just a second. The important bit for repairing your windows is under this rubber switch membrane, or whatever you want to call it. So each of these little black dots are a contact that will connect these little copper circles, and those are the contacts for your driver's window switch. And on mine, the window would go down, but you wouldn't do anything on the upstroke. You could actuate the switch and no motor noise or anything. So I decided to take it apart and see if it was old school enough that it could be cleaned. And sure enough, I wish I'd taken pictures before I cleaned it, but there were a ton of little bugs that were all dead on the switchboard and like decomposed, and I think it accelerated the corrosion on these contacts. But it was a very thick corrosion, and so it just wasn't making an electrical contact. So all I did was took a little sandpaper and ended up using the edge of an X-Acto blade. Scraped them clean, brushed all the dead bugs off of these in case it was shorting any of these pins out. I don't think it was, but just in case. And then I sprayed these contacts with some CRC electrical cleaner that I happen to have in the shop. And I didn't use any sandpaper on these black discs because they seem to be some type of composite, and I didn't want to sand through any kind of special coating, but they cleaned up really easily with just the electronics cleaner and then wiped off with a clean paper towel. And so once you clean those contacts, all you have to do is put this little membrane back on, and there's these little tabs are different sizes, so you can't put it back the wrong way. It'll only fit on one way. You do that, and the only thing that will fall out of the switch when you take it apart are these little plastic pieces. And I'll show you how they go in case you didn't see how they were when you take it. The only other thing that could possibly fall out are these two little springs that put spring pressure on the child lock window switch, and they just go into the little circular recesses in that switch, so it's not a lot to figure out there. These little plastic pieces have a long side and a short side. On the piece that's near the edge, the long side faces this way, and then on the other piece, the long side faces this way. So you just want helps to rest this on here so that the switch is kind of in a neutral position. You just drop those down like that. Once you've got it cleaned and back together, you can just, a little easier when you can use both hands. but you simply make sure those springs go in there. And then it just snaps back together. You kind of have to push on that to get it to click back, and then as you can see, it functions as it should. Good. And I'll drop this back in here and then show you when I stick it in. Alright, so I have the switch hooked back into the wiring harness on the door. So we'll test it out. So, express down, express up, manual function down, manual function up. And it was, previously it was doing absolutely nothing when you tried to put the window up. It would go down, which was not helpful. Works like a charm now. So, like I said, the switches from GM are not very expensive. Only like $30 something. So if you want to replace the switch, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I was mainly curious to see if it was because I bought the car with the problem, so I was curious to see if it was a problem with the switch or with the motor. So before I dropped 45 bucks on the motor or $30 on the switch, I figured, what the heck, might as well try taking it apart. Worst case scenario, I break the switch and buy a switch. So it turned out I was able to fix it, didn't have to spend anything on it, which is great. And also, you know, if you get caught in a scenario where your window goes down, you really need to get it back up. Sometimes you don't have time to wait for the part to come in. So hopefully this helps somebody. I didn't see any YouTube videos on it, so figured why not make one. I'll try and make a video of how to remove / install the door panel once I get that vapor barrier resealed up, and I'll try and post that as well.